Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to the Hardcore Sports NFL Sunday Morning Show, the off-season edition. This is actually the first time that we're actually doing this during the off-season. We usually do this during the regular season, but James and I talked, and it's just like, why the hell not? It's always stuff to talk about during the off-season. How you doing, James? How you doing, man?
Doing very good this morning. This is kind of my favorite time of year, man. I'm one of those sickos that loves the team building in the NFL draft and the off season. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, my team doesn't get too active in free agency most of the time. But this year, it might be different.
Yeah. Like this episode we're gonna talk about our teams, what needs to happen and everything. Obviously for me, not a lot of stuff, but there's always more to improve, I guess. Always more to improve. So yeah, let the people know where they can find you, then we can get started.
So you can find me Steelers by the Lake on basically anywhere you find podcasts, whether it be on YouTube, TikTok, Apple Podcast, everywhere that they're available. We're basically there. So check us out on any of those.
Yeah, great podcast over there. Really great guy. Hopefully Cody can jump in one of these days.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. But yeah, not a lot of stuff. So let's just get started with your Steelers, man. It's just like you just picked up a tight end. Right?
Yes. Yeah. So
What?
it's not something that's going to be a big splash move. And there's
Right.
always a chance that this guy doesn't even make the roster to be legitimate about it this time of year. Tight end number 1 and 2 are already solidified with Pat Fryermuth and Darnell Washington. But they picked up Donald Parham Jr., who he spent 3 years with the Chargers. He's a 6'8" receiving tight end with good speed. He's a 4.68 40 guy. And good explosiveness. He was a 36-inch vert, which is pretty impressive for a guy that tall. And you would assume kind of lanky, lumbering. Not the case. He's a field stretcher kind of dude.
Yeah.
So he'll compete for that number 3 tight end position with Pittsburgh, which they're expected to lose Michael Pruitt in free agency, who wasn't really a needle mover anyway. And then Connor Hayward was number 4. And Connor's kind of like a receiving tight end / fullback hybrid that doesn't really excel at anything, but he has good hands, and he's kind of still on the team because Cam Hayward's Cam Hayward, and you don't really want to cut his little brother. So it's one of those situations where this might make things awkward in the room because he might push Connor Hayward off the roster in the last year of his rookie deal. But we'll see what they do within free agency, and then even in the NFL draft, I wouldn't be surprised to see a tight end in the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah. What pick do you guys have, anyways?
Number 21.
Oh, okay. I thought you guys would be up a little bit higher. I thought you would be like 18 or 19. 21. Yeah.
Yeah, 21's that made the playoffs and lost again spot, you know?
Yeah. Just I get that. I get
barely
that.
limped in, and you get to have one of the worst spots possible because of limping in.
Yeah. So, being halftime, thank you for popping into our chat yesterday. That was fun. Thank you for popping in.
Of course.
We were talking about your Steelers, how you just got a tight end, and we're like, they need a quarterback. And I'm like, shouldn't you get the quarterback first and then the tight end or whatever? So I'm like, what's up with that, man? You're going with Justin Fields as of right now.
We'll see what they do. You know, technically neither guy's under contract. So the only quarterback under contract right now is Skylar Thompson, and you're certainly not rolling with him as the starting quarterback, right? No. So only time will tell as to which direction they move. Most Steeler fans want to see Justin Fields because of the youth, the athleticism. I feel like we've probably already seen the peak of what Justin Fields can be as a quarterback, and that concerns me. If you're looking to get a better draft pick next year than what you got this year, then I think Justin Fields is probably a good move. But that shows you that I don't have a lot of faith in him developing and taking the next step as a quarterback. So
No, and especially your wide receivers are still there, right? You still got Wilson. Everyone is still there for the next couple of years.
Yeah, so this will be the final year of the rookie deal for both George Pickens and Calvin Austin III, who are the number 1 and number 2 options right now. Roman Wilson basically redshirted last year for a college term. He got 5 offensive plays before getting re-injured and missing the rest of the season when he had already missed most of the season previous to that. So you do have a good nucleus of 3 young guys, but unfortunately you don't have a clue what you have in Roman Wilson yet. And you really don't have a solidified number 2 wide receiver, and number 1 wide receiver looks like he should be on the wrestling shows that we do here half the time.
Yeah. Oh, I feel so bad for Roman Wilson, man. Like I really do. He had a really great year for Michigan when we won the chip, and then now it's just like he gets injured. It's just like saying, is he like going to be the 3rd guy, the slot?
As of right now, if the season were going to start today, that's exactly what he would be. Although I feel like it wouldn't take long for him to get to the number 2 position because he's probably a better blocker than Calvin Austin. I think you would probably use Calvin Austin in the slot and then Roman Wilson as the number 2 because I think he's going to be a better blocker. Coming from that mentality of Michigan of no block, no rock, you know that he understands he's got to get after it in the run game. And I think that'll be an advantage for him because Pittsburgh is very heavy on if you're a wide receiver for us, you better block. So him having that mindset going into it is a godsend, honestly, and something that the whole room needs. That wide receiver room needs somebody that goes out there and shows them that devastating blocks as a wide receiver can be just as important to your team as going out and getting the big clutch catch.
And our guy Wesley just checked in. What is up, Wesley? Thank you for chiming in. This is awesome. Let's go. I appreciate that, man. A fellow Eagles fan right there. Really appreciate you here. Really do. So, yeah, with your Steelers and you still got Najee Harris, I heard that's like your main commodity. You want to build around him.
I don't know about that. His rookie contract just ran out, and they didn't give him the 5th-year option. So he's an unrestricted free agent right now. It looks more likely that they're going to go the direction of Jaylen Warren. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they still try to bring Najee back, but I don't think they're going to pay him the money that other teams might be willing to pay him. I think
because he had a good year too. He had a really solid year.
Yeah, and that's the problem is that every year he has a solid year, but he's not having that year that you're looking for, break out, getting 4.5 yards a carry at the end of the season. Every year he's like right at 3.8, 3.9, 4.0 yards per carry, getting over 1,000 yards, but just barely getting 6 or 7 touchdown runs, but never up to 10. It's always a good season, but never enough to really be a cornerstone for your franchise. And I think that's why they didn't give him the 5th-year option, to be honest, is that it just wasn't enough. And that's been a real problem for Pittsburgh the last few years is they're spending these first-round picks on offense, and those guys are supposed to end up being high-quality starters, possible Pro Bowlers, and people you build the team around. The quarterback they chose is your backup quarterback now, so that's kind of an issue. You missed there. Najee Harris was the year before that, and you didn't even give him the 5th-year option. And then you're wondering whether or not you hit on Broderick Jones at tackle too. And he was also a first-round pick. So you're starting to get into a routine here of missing on these first-round picks, and that's definitely an issue for a team that builds through the draft.
Yeah. Najee Harris is actually one of my favorite running backs in the league. I just love his game right now. It's a shame that you guys will probably, if he goes somewhere else, that's going to sting. That's going to sting for me.
Yeah, I love the way he runs. He runs hard, and the underrated part of his game, honestly, in my opinion, is receiving. When you throw him the ball and give him a little bit of field to work with, he's elusive as a receiving back. And they basically didn't use him that way the last couple of years. They gave all those snaps to Jaylen Warren really instead. So good morning, normal guy. Appreciate you joining in with us.
Yeah, make sure you guys subscribe to Steelers by the Lake. They were so close to 100. Let's help them get them there. They're at what, 89 right now? 90.
Man, we've been stuck there for a while too.
Yeah. Gotta get over that 100. Once you get over that, the rest will come into place. So, and then not TJ. Is it TJ Watt or JJ Watt? I'm really confused right now.
We have TJ, yeah.
Yeah. He getting the raid now? I heard, is he getting a raise or something?
He should. Now, if they're smart, this is the time to go ahead and extend him. Good morning, Braden. So the thing is, he still has one more year left on his contract, but it's expected to see big extensions going on with Myles Garrett, with Micah Parsons. A lot of the top named dudes are expected to get those big deals. So you want to do it now before those guys do, because it's kind of that one-upmanship game, right? So the highest paid guy right now is Nick Bosa. He's making about $34 million per year on his contract. So if you want to one-up that, you pay TJ $35, but then Myles is going to come over the top of that, and then Micah Parsons is going to try to come over the top of that. So you don't want to be the third person to the party, or you might end up paying your guy $40 million instead of $35.
Yeah. And I heard that his brother may come back out of retirement.
Man, every Steeler fan has been dreaming about this for years now.
Yeah.
Especially when they had Derek at fullback also, because then they would have had all three Watt brothers, which would have been just a sight to see. I kind of don't think he's ever coming out of retirement. And I feel like the Texans still have the rights to him anyway.
They kind of have to, right? They
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
have to.
When you retire from a team, I think that team holds your rights. So they would probably still have to trade for the rights to him, even if he did decide to come out. He looks like he's still keeping himself in tremendous shape. So could he? Maybe, but I kind of doubt it personally. I'd take him in a heartbeat. He'd be a massive upgrade. I'd love a defensive line with Cam Hayward and J.J. Watt on it.
Yeah. How old is he? He's 35.
Yeah.
J.J. Watt is 35 right now. If he does come back, whoo, that would be something. That would definitely be something.
And that'd be the oldest defensive line in the NFL, because Cam Hayward's 35 also. And he just came off of a Pro Bowl season, so it can still be done. You can still be playing at a high level. It's just very rare.
Yeah. Yeah. And the best part about your team, in my opinion, is your defense. I felt like your defense was on fire in the start of the season, kind of fell off a little bit, but to me, they're so underrated. Still a very underrated defense, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and it's all about what parts of it, right? There are certain pieces that got really exposed in that final stretch, and teams just attacked those weaknesses, and that's why the defense didn't look so good at the end of the year. So cornerback number 2, they need an upgrade. Dante Jackson was not good in one-on-one coverage last year. He ended the season with 5 interceptions, but all of them were on poorly thrown balls or tipped passes. He didn't have a single interception where he jumped a route. So does he have great hands? Sure does. Can he cover in man coverage? No, he cannot, and teams just went after him like crazy. Slot corner was an issue too, but the other big position for us was at defensive end with Larry Ogunjobi. Larry Ogunjobi was just a sieve all year long. Teams ran at him. PFF had him on a run grade of 49, which is just miserable as far as your run defense. And it showed on tape. You know, when you watched a game, teams just ran right at him. And it also showed up in the pass rush, because you had TJ getting double and triple teamed over here. You had Cam on the other side getting double teamed. And you never had to worry about more than one guy blocking Larry Ogunjobi because he couldn't beat him. So you only have basically a 3-man rush when you had 4 guys trying to rush the quarterback, which really makes it easy for an offensive line, because you can have, 4 or 5 guys focusing on those 3 and just stick one guy on Ogunjobi, and you don't have to worry about him. So they need a big upgrade at that defensive end position and the cornerback position. And then I think you're going to start seeing an elite defense like what it looked like at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. For me, it's just like I felt so bad for your Steelers. Russell Wilson was doing good, and then that whole thing happened, and now where's Russell Wilson now? He's with the Raiders?
No, he's a free agent as well. So
I thought he was with the Raiders. No.
Not until the start of free agency can he sign anywhere. So we got a couple of weeks on that still. There's still rumors that he might come back. It just depends on which reporter you want to talk to.
Would you want him back?
I think that the passing offense would be better with Russ than it would be with Justin Fields.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
That's the catch-22 on it, is that I feel like you're kind of limited because Russ doesn't use the entire field. He really doesn't use the middle of the field all that much.
Yeah.
But his deep ball is pretty doggone accurate, and he still has some ability to scramble. Justin Fields has an elite ability to scramble. His deep ball is not accurate at all. So what are you going to do? I mean, if you go the Fields route, I feel like you need to go with a like an option kind of offense where you're constantly running the read option.
Yeah. Russell Wilson, is he a potential Hall of Famer, you think? Borderline Hall of Fame?
I would say he probably won't be first ballot, but he'd probably get in. When you have a resume with 10 Pro Bowls and 1 Super Bowl, it's tough to keep a guy like that out.
Yeah. Halftime, what is up, man? Thank you for stopping by. If you want to pop in for a bit, just let me know in the chat and I'll send you the link on Twitter. Just let me know and I'll I'll send you in. Yeah, Russell Wilson had great years in Seattle. Now I feel like he's kind of falling off a little bit, going down that route. So hopefully he can pick it up this new year with a new team, fresh start. If he goes back to the Steelers, I don't know if he'll actually want to play there. Do you think he still wants to play? No?
I think he has a great relationship with Mike Tomlin, but not so much with the offensive coordinator. And that's where you have the issues. Because if you don't have a good relationship with your quarterback and your offensive coordinator, the offense is just going to fall apart, and that's what happened at the end of the season. So now that just happened to be when they ran into the toughest stretch of their entire schedule with a 10-day window of playing the Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs within 10 days. That shows you about the toughness of their schedule versus what other folks might have had to go through. But, yeah, I don't know that he has a ton left in the tank.
So Arku is coming in and says, halftime had some wisdom on this stuff. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. He does not want Kenny Pickett. Well, he is a Super Bowl champion now. So I got to ask you, how do you feel about Kenny Pickett winning the Super Bowl?
I'm happy for him, honestly, because I thought he kind of got a raw deal. And it was all about wording and how you talk to your players, right? The end of year 2 happened, and Pittsburgh said, Kenny's our guy. We're sticking with him no matter what. And then, like, a couple of days later, they go out and sign Russ. So how do those conversations go is really the big key to me. I feel like you could have had appropriate conversations with Kenny and used Russ as kind of like a mentor to try to help him go to the next level. And instead, Kenny felt like he kind of got stabbed in the back and said, I'm out of here, man. I'm not going to be his backup. And I can't blame him for it because they had just told him he was going to be the guy. But I feel like Kenny wasn't done and he was slowly improving as time went on. And year 3 was where I was expecting the big jump because that's when it happened in college for him. He went from a couple of kind of decent years to his 3rd year just being incredible and throwing up like 50 touchdowns to like 8 interceptions or something. But, yeah, I felt like he got a raw deal, and I'm happy for him that he got a Super Bowl ring.
It's actually funny. I remember I made this video on my main channel. You guys should check it out. When the Philadelphia Eagles traded for him and what we gave up for him, I'm like, it's just a backup quarterback. There's nothing to be mad at all. He's not going to be playing big minutes or whatever. That's Jalen Hurts. He's a franchise quarterback now. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm just like, it is what it is. And now he played in the Super Bowl. Yeah. And now Kenny Pickett played in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Do you see Kenny Pickett staying in Philly? Do you see that happening, or do you see him going somewhere else?
I think once his rookie deal runs out, I could see him going somewhere else because somebody might want to try to give him a shot as a reclamation project. And you see that with a lot of guys around the league. In fact, Pittsburgh's been trying that the last couple of years with Justin Fields, with Mitch Trubisky before that, with Dwayne Haskins before that. They've been trying to take these guys that didn't work out in their original location and see if they can kind of turn them into what they used to be or what the potential could be. I think someone will try to do that with Kenny. I don't think he'll be guaranteed a starting job anywhere by any means, but I think someone's going to bring him in with an opportunity to compete against another veteran quarterback and a chance to win a starting job after that rookie deal is done.
Yeah. Philly halftime thinks it will be the Saints.
The
He'll get
Saints?
traded to
Could
the
be.
Saints with Kellen Moore because
Yep.
now Kellen Moore has left Philly. He's now the head coach in New Orleans.
Mhm.
I can see that, but for me, I think he'll be here till his contract runs out, unless watch him go to like the Giants or something.
Yeah.
That would be funny if he goes to a division rival. Like, hey, you gave us Barkley, we'll give you Kenny Pickett. There you go.
Yeah. I mean,
Give
we'll
you
have one
Pickett.
more year to find out, right? This upcoming season will be the 4th year of his rookie deal. So after that, that's when the move happens, if it's gonna.
Yeah. So actually, I just remembered. Isn't the combine this week?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
NFL Combine starts this week, so that's when a lot of talks happen and a lot of trades and speculation on who's going to sign who. That all really ramps up this week. But I love this stuff, man. I can't wait to see these guys run on their 40-yard dashes and see how many times they can put up 225 on the bench. This is my jam right here.
Because I know you watched the Senior Bowl. I know you actually watched that. You were studying these guys' games or whatever.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about these guys going into the combine?
I mean, you have certain positions where it's real strong versus other positions. You know, this year is a great year to need a defensive lineman. It's a stacked group. Same with running backs. Some people are saying there's up to 30 draftable running backs in this draft class, which is an extraordinarily high number. Good group of tight ends also. So any of these positions, if you need one, it's a good year for it. Corner group is pretty decent too. Not really the high end, like elite talent. There's a couple of guys, and then past that, a bunch of startable guys up into the 2nd and 3rd round, where you could see a dozen or so corners taken in those first 3 rounds.
Wow, it's mostly a wow. I thought it was more of like I don't pay attention a lot to the combine. I usually pay attention later on, like after the combine, before the NFL draft. That's when I really kickstart into the diving process. So for me, I'm kind of like a little bit laid back right now. I thought it was like a linebacker draft, but it looks like I was wrong.
Well, you got some good edge rushers too, and that's where it's like, are you talking linebacker edge rusher, or are you talking linebacker off ball, like middle linebacker type?
I was just thinking linebacker group as a whole. That's what I was thinking.
There's some very good edge rushers that will end up being linebackers in the NFL. So definitely a good group with that as well, starting with Abdul Carter at the top. I mean, Abdul is just looking like an incredible talent. Some people saying he might even go number 1 overall.
You mean who got the number 1 pick now? The Patriots?
No.
Wasn't it the Patriots?
I don't remember.
I got it. I got you. I got it. Don't worry. NFL draft order. I thought it was the Patriots. No?
Tennessee Titans have the number 1 overall pick.
Oh, the Titans.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the Titans, then Browns, then the Giants, then the Patriots at 4, then the Jaguars at 5.
Yeah.
So the Titans, it says here, let me share the screen real quick. It says they definitely need a quarterback. And I'm like, yeah, okay, they can take anything at this point.
Yeah,
right here.
Let's be real. This is a team that probably needs 6 or 7 starters, right? So how much are they going to get in free agency? But you have to, if you're the Titans, if you want to turn your franchise around and start being taken seriously, you can't just take a quarterback just because you don't have one in a class where the quarterbacks aren't that great. You know, if you think that the best talent is Abdul Carter, that's exactly who you need to take.
So you wouldn't suggest them getting like a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? You don't think that's where they go?
I'm bigger on Cam Ward than I am on Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
But I think at the number 1 overall, I mean, you're talking about some guys in this draft class that are thought of as really like elite players. When you're talking about the defensive tackle, Mason Graham from Michigan, there are a lot of people saying if he had longer arms, he'd be guaranteed to be the number 1 overall pick. Abdul Carter, we just talked about. Ashton Genty, the running back, an absolute freak show of a player. And then you have a two-way player this year too, which we've not really seen before in Travis Hunter. Is he going to be the number 1 corner? Is he going to be the number 1 wide receiver? Is he going to be both? It's
I
tough for
I
me to.
heard that he's going to be a corner, not a wide receiver.
I've heard that similarly, and it's because it's more difficult to find an elite corner than it is an elite wide receiver.
Yeah.
So if you're able to be a shutdown number one corner, that probably is a little bit more highly coveted than it is as a number one wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. Arku comes in and is like, yo, Mitch, who's Pat Bernard? Is that Sean's brother? No, Pat Bernard is not Sean Bernard's brother. Pat Bernard is a colleague of mine in this other network I'm in called Steampunk Entertainment. So, and then this is Sean Bernard, who's a Sixers writer. So, a lot of people are mixing them up for the two as brothers, but no, they're not brothers, spelled differently. Last name. I think it's the Titans. Yeah, it's clearly the Titans. Good morning, Butterfly. How's it going? Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate you. Make sure you guys subscribe to Steelers by the Lake podcast. Oh, that's not the link. I almost gave you guys the StreamYard link. That would have been bad. That would have been bad. Here's the link right there. Make sure you guys go subscribe to Steelers by the Lake. It is in the chat right there. So, yeah, for me, I think you can't go wrong with the number one overall pick unless they trade it. If they trade this pick and try to get more value for it, then I'm like, okay, what is the Tennessee Titans doing? They gave away DeAndre Hopkins. They gave us A.J. Brown. Thank you for that, by the way, a couple years ago. But I'm just like, what is wrong with the Tennessee Titans right now? I feel like they just need a complete overhaul. I think they need a rebuild. So maybe a trade. It's not a bad idea, wouldn't you say? Maybe
Yeah, I would
to get
agree
more
with you.
assets.
When you have that many holes where your team looks like Swiss cheese, then trading down is not the worst idea in the world, because if it's the number one overall pick, you can expect to probably get at least 2 first-round picks and then maybe a second and third on top of that back. If you're only going back a few spots, you still might be able to get one of those blue chip guys in this draft class and put yourself in a situation where you're still getting a generational talent and you gain all this extra stuff to fill some of the other holes. So if I were Tennessee, that's something I would definitely entertain, just because of the status of that franchise and the roster and having so many positions that they really need upgrades.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? Did you ever see the movie Draft Day?
Oh yeah, that's a great movie.
It reminds me of that. They gave away the 3 first round picks to get the first one, and then they get them back at the end.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is that even possible?
Yeah, you gotta play some seriously good poker with other GMs to pull some stuff off like that.
Yeah. And the second is the Cleveland Browns. Mm-hmm. Obviously, same thing as Tennessee. Can't go wrong with trading the pick. Deshaun Watson, we already know what's going on with him. They could definitely go edge. Do you see Myles Garrett being traded?
I think that he's probably going to stand his ground and refuse to play for him. So if they're smart, you trade him now before the draft while there's still higher value. The longer this goes on, if the season starts and he refuses to suit up for him, you don't have any leverage at all. I think they don't have a ton of leverage right now, personally, because they already said they weren't going to trade him. And then 2 days later, he said, I'm out of here. I'm not playing for you. That really lowers the value of what you can get in return, because people know that this guy is either just going to wait until he's a free agent and then you can get him in free agency, or he's just like not going to play. So why would you give like 2 or 3 first round picks for a guy when you know he doesn't want to be there?
Yeah. So Myles Garrett, I don't know if he gets traded, but if he does, the Philadelphia Eagles will take him in a heartbeat. We got plenty of assets. We'll take him. We'll definitely take him there. But
what about your salary cap space, though, Mitch? I mean, he's going to command a good $35-40 million a year.
Yeah. We actually have more of a salary cap than we did last year. We actually have a little more space. I don't know how much exactly, but we do have more compared to last year. So Myles Garrett, he's a hell of a player. He's got a little bit of a temper problem, though. I just got to say that. He's got a little bit of a temper. maybe that would change with the different scenery and stuff. But if they give him Myles Garrett, I could see that being a draft day trade. I could see that
Yeah,
being a draft day trade if they want a lot of value for this pick.
absolutely. Yeah, especially if Abdul Carter doesn't go at number 1 overall. If he's still sitting there at 2, you make your trade away Myles Garrett, get whatever assets you can in the process, take Abdul Carter as your next pass rusher, and move right along with all the new assets you get, which you would imagine would be a bunch of draft picks.
Mm-hmm. And just like Arku said right here, in poker you bet chips. Well, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is all about taking risks. It
Yep,
is. Look what Howie
absolutely.
Roseman did throughout the years. He was a terrible guy doing the drafts. He flipped it, and now look where we are.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it all starts with the GM and know what they're doing. Number 3, the Giants. Anything at this point.
Yeah.
Anything at this point.
Yep.
But
They're in their Swiss cheese situation, right? Where there's so many holes that you just got to take the best available talent. But that's a scary sight to see your needs and 2 of them being offensive line in the top 3 needs. I don't see a quarterback changing that without getting a better offensive line in place in front of them. So this might be one of those situations where they just need to invest in offensive line, like first, second, and third round. Just take offensive line and then worry about getting your quarterback next year.
yeah, I mean, you can't do any worse. You had Daniel Jones for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and Daniel Jones with a decent offensive line might actually look okay.
Yeah, so I'm agreeing with you here. I think offensive tackle or guard, that is the way they go. And then for a quarterback, I can see them making a trade for like more of a veteran quarterback. I've been seeing Matthew Stafford going around like, okay, he's not going to go here, maybe here. I've been hearing that name a lot. So maybe getting a Matthew Stafford to the Giants will not be a bad move, would you say?
Oh, I mean, any team that needs a quarterback that could get Matthew Stafford should jump all over it. I have a very high opinion of his ability to see the field, make all the throws. He's had some injury issues the last couple of years, but that just happens with quarterbacks as they get older. So
Yeah.
you're going to have that. But I think any team that is in need of a quarterback should be really, really interested. And having Malik Neighbors, that's a big carrot that you can dangle out there for somebody and say, look who you get to throw the ball to, you know.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it in free agency, man, you better address that offensive line, or you're not going to get anybody that wants to come there.
Yeah. Now, if they did still have Saquon and they had the 3rd overall pick, I wouldn't mind if I was Matthew Stafford and be like, hey, I will go here. Look at this running back that they got.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. They
Takes a
don't
lot
have
of
a running
pressure
back.
off your quarterback, you know, when you have that kind of running game, you don't have to go out there and take all these risks throwing the ball. You just have to be, good on 3rd down basically and keep drives going.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the 4th one, who I thought had the number 1 pick, man, was I wrong? The New England Patriots. I
Give
mean,
yourself a little credit. You're not far off.
not far, but I'm still a little bit off. But when you go, who do you think the Patriots should go after here? I don't see a trade here. I see more of like a offensive tackle because they do have a quarterback, but I'm gonna go with offensive tackle here. How about you?
Yeah, it's another place where offensive line's a big issue. So you got to think that that's something that they're addressing now. Do you want to take an offensive lineman at number 4 overall? I don't know. It's pretty high for an offensive lineman. So maybe you take a top tier corner, but I don't know. I think with your young quarterback, who Drake May looked like he had some promise going on last season. Probably investing in the offensive line is a good idea to give him some time.
Yeah.
If you want to continue with his progression going upwards and not regressing, man, give him some time in that pocket there so he can find some receivers.
Yeah. I honestly forget who the receivers they have now. I honestly am drawing a blank right now.
That tells you a lot, unfortunately.
It really does. It really does. So personally, I would go offensive line. You can't go wrong. And then the Jaguars, they don't have a head coach. They can go either way they want. A quarterback, I'm not the biggest fan of Trevor Lawrence. I am not. I've been saying he's overrated ever since he got drafted. So for me, I'm like, get a new quarterback, get Trevor Lawrence out of there, start fresh. How do you feel about that? Getting Trevor Lawrence out of Jacksonville.
I think contractually it's almost impossible.
It is.
So that's the big issue, is that you kind of have no choice but to try to stick it out with him. Maybe you take a quarterback in the third or fourth round that you have a good opinion of and see if maybe you can pull something off with developing somebody like that. But I don't think you can use first round. I just don't think you can use a first round pick on another quarterback when you have that much money invested in Trevor Lawrence. There were rumors going around a couple of weeks ago that Pittsburgh had inquired about it, which gave people a little more information. If they trade him away, which is not on the table by any means at this stage, they would be like an $83 million cap hit. That's how much of a dead cap hit they would take if they trade him. So they kind of have no choice but to stick it out with him because of the guaranteed money in the contract. So maybe this is a spot here where another Michigan guy goes and cornerback Will Johnson. He's thought of by many to be the number 1 or number 2 corner in this draft. And that's their number 1 need according to this site here. So that might be a good position for him to come off the board.
Mm-hmm. I definitely see that. I would love Will Johnson there. I just love any Michigan players going to any team. As long as it's not the Cowboys, because I have 2 Michigan players there right now and I can't root for them. So it's just like, well, all that watching for years and now you're in Dallas. Damn. That's like, but Jacksonville.
Huh? That's how I felt a couple of years back. You know, I always want to see a prospect come out with my last name and then get on the Steelers so I can buy their jersey and have it be legitimate.
Yeah.
And so a few years ago, a running back by the name of Pierre Strong came out. And I was like, nice. He's a fast running back. He'd be a good change of pace for Najee. Let's go. And he goes to the friggin' Patriots, who obviously I dislike. And then when he's done with the Patriots, he went to the Browns.
Right.
I can't cheer for Pierre Strong on the Browns or the Patriots. Come on.
That's not fair. That is definitely not fair. But it's kind of like with me with Donovan McNabb back in the day. He went to the Redskins. And I'm like, really? You went to the Redskins? Like,
yeah.
Damn. But anyways, let's talk about my Eagles real quick, man. The biggest thing that they need to keep is Zach Bond. Zach Bond is the number 1 guy they need to keep because without him, Nakobe Dean, we don't have linebackers like it will be just like the past. Our linebackers have been the weakest link of our defense for years. Vic Fangio saw something in him, turned him into a middle linebacker. Now he's one of the best in the league. So if he gets his money somewhere else, I'm okay with it. Like, get your money, you deserve it, all that, all pro linebacker. But that's your number 1 guy. You got to get him, Sweat, Mill Williams. You can't get all these guys. So the Eagles have a very interesting offseason about that. So, how do you feel about the Eagles?
Is that your number 1 concern, is losing Zach Bond? That's the big free agent?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my number 1. Yeah.
I can understand that for sure. Those other pass rushers, though, man, you got to feel like that's going to be difficult to keep these guys because I think other teams are really going to throw some money at them. Especially Sweat and Milton Williams, the way they played in that Super Bowl, people are going to pay them. They're going to pay them a lot of money to try to steal them away from the Eagles. In fact, I feel like Pittsburgh should be one of those teams going after Milton Williams. He'd be a great upgrade over Larry Ogunjobi at their defensive end position. So that's something that I can understand your concern. That's it, man. It's like I feel like Philadelphia just showed the NFL what team building should look like.
Yes.
That's exactly what they did is they went out and they filled up that offensive line. You know, high draft picks, hitting in some guys in free agency, with converting, having the foresight to take Mekhi Becton and move him to guard, where he thrived. A guy that was really struggling as an offensive tackle, kicked him inside to guard, and now he's a mauler. Jordan Mailata, a freaking rugby player, and you turned into an elite left tackle. You have to be able to do stuff like this to build an elite offensive line. So I feel like how they invested in the offensive line, then they invested heavily in the defensive line, and then this last draft they invested heavily in the secondary.
Yeah.
They went and got a corner in the first round and then doubled down and got another one in the second round, and they ended up being two of the highest graded guys in the entire NFL. It just and any of us that were watching the NFL draft process knew that these guys were going to be good.
Yeah.
And on draft day, I wanted Cooper DeJean in the worst way to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, especially with their need at that position. And when the Eagles got him after already taking Quinyon Mitchell, I said, Jesus, man, that's one hell of a secondary they just drafted. And that is what everybody needs to be taking notes on. Build your offensive line, build your defensive line so that you got a good rotation of pass rushers, and then get some corners that can cover for more than 2 seconds.
Yeah.
That gives your defensive line time to get in there.
So the main reason we went after like a Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, because Darius Slay is getting old. They're talking about him getting retired. Avonte Maddox, who's actually been a target on the defensive side, he's the weakest link. So they would just attack on the slot, and then he'll be injured. And then it's just like, okay, we can't keep on doing this. We'll take Cooper DeJean, and that helped our defense so much compared to last year. When you look at the defense last year with the collapse to now, it's just like a flip of the switch. Vic Fangio, the bend don't break scheme really helps, and I'm just like, we can't let Vic Fangio go. That's another thing too. We can't let him go, man.
No,
we cannot.
Nope. Give him a fat raise and keep him around.
Yeah. Thank you, Kellen Moore, but we have the better coach right now. We got the better coach. So, yeah, guys. So that's pretty much going to conclude this episode for the off season. We're going to do mock drafts throughout the year, throughout the off season. Obviously, we're going to do mock drafts. We're going to get other people on from different teams. Shout out to Bowman. He's actually doing big things. He's on a radio show right now. So shout out to him. Maybe we can get him back on a show or two. Maybe we can get Nikki Steege back. We'll see. Maybe not next week. I don't know. I got to see my schedule. But, yeah, this is going to be fun this year. I can't wait.
Yeah. We're going to have a lot to talk about with next time we meet up. There's going to be a lot of results from the NFL Scouting Combine. So we'll have a better clue on what direction teams might be looking at and what prospects we should be talking about.
And with that being said, guys, make sure you subscribe to Steelers by the Link podcast. The link is in the chat. And, subscribe to the Hardcore Sports Network. And, guys, we're out. We'll catch you all later, guys. Peace.